Hello, everyone. I wanted to kind of go over some key points from the Week 1A PowerPoint. Just some kind of key things that you need to know during Week 1. If you'll refer to your PowerPoint that's listed next to Week 1A, I'll kind of walk you through some of the major points of the slides to make sure you have full understanding of what we want to make sure we accomplish. This is kind of the introduction to the major open systems theory. Some of the learning objectives we want to talk about is you'll understand kind of the four levels that go into an organizational studies major, as well as being able to kind of talk about the key concepts of the organizational studies major, as well as the leadership and technology areas of study. So a lot of information here. These majors are primarily built on the open systems model, which we're going to talk about extensively. Organizational studies is kind of the integration of leadership and core business processes. So that's if you're interested in leadership and understand how it relates to business itself, this will be a great major for you. And then the leadership and technology major integrates all of that, as well as some technology with the core business processes. So again, if technology is your thing, plus you're interested in organizational studies, that'd be a great approach for you as well. The OS major itself, and again, as we're following along, this is slide 5 on your the PowerPoint. The OS major, again, combines leadership, technology, and core processes, and you can see on the PowerPoint itself some of the OSTD courses that you'll take, including this one, Organizational Foundations. Some of the core other classes you'll take with accounting and legal and marketing and human resources. By the way, I teach HR management, so take that class. You'll love it. Those are the types of classes that will help you build the core business processes along with the organizational development classes to create a strong major. And again, a lot of people, when they choose a minor, for example, they'll choose organizational technology or industrial psychology, management, hospitality. Those types of things are all great things that you can go into. As far as the leadership and technology major, again, you combine everything that we just talked about, but we combine more computer courses like in event-driven programming, database analysis, networking and telecommunications. All of that goes into it as well, in addition to your classes in accounting and human resources. Take the human resources classes. I teach it. You love it. Some other things, we know a lot of us have heard about organizations themselves, but what exactly is an organization? A lot of times we don't really know what those details are. Organizations are entities that gather people together in formal groups, providing structure, context, and trying to pursue a common goal. And again, more often than not, groups will get together or teams will get together, but they're not an organization necessarily because, again, there's certain context or certain structure, there's a culture that develops. Most importantly, they're trying to reach a common goal. And I think that's one of the most important things for you to know about organizations, that they get together, formalized to pursue common goals. Again, there's public organizations, private organizations, for-profit, non-profit, a little bit of everything. So you're really, not limited on what you develop. There's 3 levels of analysis that we're going to talk about, which is the organization, which is the big, wide group. So I work at Oklahoma State University, so the organization would be Oklahoma State University. The group itself would be human resources, which is the area I work in. So part of the organization, just a little bit lower, and then, of course, the individual at the bottom level. So we're going to talk about all of those. At that big macro level, the organizational level, we talk about the culture that's developed, the structure, whether that's formal or informal. We'll talk about that more. Technology that everybody uses, the external environment, whether that's political or social, whatever that environment is, that covers a little bit of everything. Then when you get into the group, you start getting more detailed. What are the group dynamics? What creates conflict? What creates, leadership? Who takes control? Who will, sit there and take notes while others, may make strategy decisions? And as you get more and more into it, you develop more normal roles. People start kind of specializing. And again, but in some groups, everybody does a little bit of everything. And that's probably the ideal. But again, every group is different, and it kind of depends on how it develops. And then, of course, at the individual levels, your own personal values. What is important to you? What motivates you? What is your personality? How comfortable do you get along with everybody? What are your personal ethics? What matters to you? Are you going to be the person who sits back and just toast the whole time, or are you going to take charge and make all your details known? How do you learn? How do you study? What do you really believe in? That all goes into the individual itself. And if you look at slide 12 in your packet, you'll see leadership at multiple levels. And you'll see these terms used a lot: input, output, feedback. Those are all part of the Open Systems Network, which we're going to talk about in great detail throughout the semester. So, and again, you have organizational theory and practice, team dynamics, interpersonal relations, motivation and self-management. All those are key factors that we're going to discuss much more in detail throughout the semester. On slide 14, we'll talk about the two different types of organizations that we look at: a mechanistic versus an organic. And again, the PowerPoint slide will kind of show you the details, but really we're talking about, where, there's kind of a one size fits all in a mechanistic, where everything starts from the top and it flows all the way down. Think of your stereotypical, like the military, for example, is very mechanistic. A general makes a decision that goes to a colonel, that goes to a major, that goes all the way down through the organization. It's very structured, very centralized, no real question authority. The military is still probably the best example of an organization that does that, but again, you're starting to see less and less of that, and more organizations are moving to what we call organic, more decentralized, where lower levels can make more binding decisions. It's easier to change, there's flexibility, autonomy, a lot easier to be able to get things done. So again, those are the two kind of the details we'll talk about this semester. So a couple things I want you to think about before next week. First is, when you're choosing your major, how does that relate to your career options? Obviously, if you want to be an architect, for example, what architecture would make sense for you to major in. But if you're studying biology, how does that relate to your goal as an architect? So again, by choosing these majors in organizational studies, what do you want to accomplish? Obviously, I think you're interested in some type of, leadership role or managerial, where you're getting to work with people all the time, which is a very admirable goal. But what does that relate to you? And if you're interested in being a leader, what level? Do you just want to be a supervisor, or do you want to be the president of a company? Those are the types of things to think about. And finally, slide 16, which I think is the most important slide you'll see all semester, is thinking about organizations as a system. This is what is known as the Open Systems Model. We'll refer to it greatly, so please take a few minutes to look at this slide, learn about it, and we'll talk about it much more in detail. Talk to you soon.